Hey, what's going on, everybody? As always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the show. We've got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 85th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into for this week is we're about to talk about UFC. They have UFC 216 popping off this Saturday. About to get right into this one. They got some pretty good fights on this card. But the first fight we're about to get right into is Verdum versus Lewis. Thoughts about this fight, Darnell?
So, an interesting matchup. You got Verdum. We want to see if he's gotten out of his fascination with his hands and will get back to his bread and butter of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And you have Derek Lewis, he has hands like Adam Bombs going in. Yeah. So, but we want to see how he does with a elite level grappler like this. That can he keep the fight standing, and use his best tool to get this going. So it's a big test for him, especially I believe he's coming off a loss, so he wants to make up for that. And then, they're going to try to get himself back into the upper tier of that heavyweight division. So should be interesting to watch. I'm not sure how exciting of a fight this will be because if Verdum is smart, he will not try to turn this into a slugfest because it probably won't work out well on his end. Yeah. So might be a little more of a strategic fight than a barn burner.
Yeah. I'm kind of nervous about this fight in terms of entertainment wise. I think this could be a little bit possibly like Verdum's and Overeem's matchup. A little bit where, you have Verdum, he could be playing it safe, and, not be very interesting to the crowd to watch, what he's doing in the ring, but it could be effective. And then just avoid Derek Lewis, because that guy can knock you out in a split second. So, if Verdum wants to not play as smart and he wants to stand up and, throw them hands with Derek Lewis, this could be entertaining. Verdum, he does, have some hands on him, but he doesn't have hands on him like Derek Lewis. The smart thing would be for him to use that jiu-jitsu and try to control Lewis on the ground. But this could be interesting. If Verdum wants to get out of that slump and try to play it safe and do his thing, this could be a great win for him. But if he still wants to believe in those hands, he could definitely get caught and continue to go further downhill after this fight. So it just these styles. They always say these styles can make fights, but particularly with these two, this can be one that could keep you gazed or could be a sleeper. So just have to see.
Yeah, if Verdum is smart, it should be a sleeper style fight.
Yeah,
it's just. I just feel like Derek Lewis, he knows what he's good at, so he's going to try to look for that knockout shot. Has worked for him pretty much since he's come to the UFC outside of his last fight against Mark Hunt, where he took the DKM, but that was in the 4th round. Longest fight he had been in basically outside of him getting KO 2 fights before that. He was a main event for the fight night. But that was probably the highest level of talent he fought in a 5-round fight, and now he knows that he has to take care of business early.
Yeah. So who you got, man?
I'm gonna go with Verdum. I think he fights smarter and probably gets a decision.
Think he won't be hard-headed this time, huh?
At least I hope so.
I want to pick Verdum. I think he's the better fighter, but I think he's going to be hard-headed again, man. And I think Derek Lewis is going to end up catching him in this fight. So I think Derek Lewis is going to end up getting a win over him, man. So, both of these guys are capable of winning, but I think Verdum's going to be hard headed again, man. So he proves me wrong. All right. Up next, we're about to get into your boy, Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson. He's going to be going against Ray Borg. Could end up breaking my guy's record for title defenses, man. So, it would be cool to see him do it, but then again, I don't want to see him do it. So, but Demetrius Johnson, man, he's on a roll, man. What do you think about this fight?
I think this is another DJ win. It's not to say Borg was a bad fighter or anything. He's 11-2. He has one loss in the UFC, but he's not a finisher in any way.
Yeah.
And if you're not a wizard in some sort of way where you can lay people out in a second or lose and just on the ground somehow, I think that puts you at an extreme disadvantage against somebody like Mighty Mouse. Seeing as he's so well rounded at everything, I think it's going to take somebody that's just really, really good at one thing, and that is the best thing.
Yeah.
So looking back at those fights, he has one finish in his last 5 fights, and that was a third round submission. On a fighter I'm not even familiar with, so. Don't have hopes for him.
Yeah, man. I don't know that much about Borg, but I do know a lot about DJ, man. That guy's just a beast. He can finish fights. Like I say, he can wrestle. Dude, just all around, just great. And, since my boy John Jones likes to stay in trouble, right now, in my opinion, I think he's the greatest of all time. So, always a pleasure just watch this guy go up in the octagon and just handle business. So I do. I think this is going to be an easy win for him, man. He's going to go up in there and handle business. But deep down inside, I'm pulling for Borg, man. I don't want my man Silva's record to be broken. So, I like DJ, but, when you trying to break a record like Silva or something like that, I got to go against him. But, I am expecting a, easy win for him. Listen, he should handle business.
Sorry. Ready to see that title defense record.
Yeah. After this, if he does, win this fight, like me and you both believe that he will, is there anybody in particular, else you would like to see? I know, earlier he was beefing with, Dana White about, Dillashaw going down and possibly messing up, schedule for his, fights because, it was originally Borg, but, Dana wanted Dillashaw to get it. You think that's still a good possibility or what?
If TJ is willing to go down with that, I think that's a really exciting fight.
Yeah.
As long as, he's a championship level fighter.
Yeah.
And TJ pretty much has cleared out his division on that. I'm not seeing anybody that is really deserving of getting another shot. I guess some might say Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Based on maybe how he looks, I believe he's fighting on the Detroit card against, Eddie Pettis' younger brother.
Okay.
Sergio.
Okay.
So if he looks really good in that fight, maybe you give him another shot because that was like his second or third fight in the UFC when they fought. And he's looked good lately.
Yeah.
So all the other traditional fighters in this weight class, I guess that would be the one guy I would say maybe you can give him another shot at it.
Yeah. When Mighty Mouse, cause he lost to Cruz, was that in his division?
No, that was up away.
Oh, okay, that was upper. Okay. So yeah, I know, Cruz ain't the champ, like he was, but, it would just be interesting to see if he could, beat Cruz, cause Cruz, that was the only one, that gave him an L in the UFC, I believe. So
yeah, it's just one blemish.
yeah,
but I mean, I think if that fight happened now, where Dominic Cruz, I mean, still from his last fight, he's still great. But
yeah,
I think DJ would be able to get him back now.
yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the guy's not one of the, greatest of all times for a reason. So the dude just awesome, man. Like I said, he can knock you out. He can wrestle you. Just has a great, gas take on him. Just doesn't get tired. Can't do nothing but praise the guy. So, this should be, he should be able to get that record. The question is, how long can he make that record go? Cause, that guy's unstoppable right now. So, anything else to add for your boy, man?
Just, hoping he doesn't mess up. I figure he takes all this fight seriously, even if this one where he should ghost. Yeah, I think he is focused on getting that record. So,
yeah. Now, up next we have Tony Ferguson versus Detroit's finest Kevin Lee. It's going to be interesting to see this guy in there for the championship bout. Love his energy. But what do you think about this fight?
I mean, it should be a fun fight. Both of these guys they're going to go at it and give everything. They're both pretty well-rounded fighters. They can both win in different ways. Neither of them will ever see going into a fight to try to, take it to the judges. They both like to go in there and prove they're a better fighter. So should be fun. Both are very good wrestlers. Both are good on the ground. I think I get the edge as far as punching power and stand up to Kevin Lee. So I'm interested in where this one goes.
Yeah, me too, man. These guys just, you look at kind of like their numbers, with like significant strikes and grappling and whatnot. They're pretty close to each other, pretty, even numbers. So, just going to be able to see, just how, these two will be able to just, fare with each other in the ring. So there's going to be a good test for each other. Now, who do you have in this one?
Oh, that's the tough part there.
Yeah.
I think I'm still leaning more towards Ferguson. I just feel like he's had he's been doing better for longer, and he's fought a little higher level of fighters.
Yeah, competition.
Yeah, so I think he's a little more prepared for this fight. Of course, I'm rooting for the hometown kid.
Yeah.
And he's from Detroit. But yeah, I think if I had one, I'm going this way.
Yeah. I'm feeling Ferguson too, man. I just think that, like you said, he just had a little bit, more, competitive fighters, than Lee. And Lee's just still pretty young, man. He's 25. So, he's going up against a seasoned veteran like Tony Ferguson, who's basically seen it all in the ring, man. So if I got to pick, man, I'm going to give it to Tony, but, I'm going to be pulling for Lee, man. Like I said, I love that guy's energy. Just what he does up in the, octagon. So I'm going to be pulling for him, but just, how Ferguson, with the experience and everything, it's just hard for me to pick against a seasoned vet like him going up against a young guy. So I would have to pick Ferguson as well. Now you think this will go the distance or what?
No, just because these are two guys that are looking to end the fight.
Yeah.
Most likely for both of them on the ground. So I think this probably turns into a grappling match, and we see who can outdo the other on the ground.
Yeah.
So I think we get a finish, but somebody is getting a choke of some sort.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, anything else you like to add for 216, man?
No, I mean, the top of the card, I'm really interested to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good one to watch for sure. So, got plenty of talent on there, just see how those styles can clash in this good card. So, but all right, up next, we're about to get right into some NBA. The season is fastly approaching. About to touch on most of the Eastern Conference this week. But first, we have some news coming from the NBA that it's no longer going to be a East versus West All-Star game. Just what were you guys' thoughts on that when you first heard about it?
Not well. I am a little surprised that they're moving to this format, but kind of not surprised because other sports have tried it out. The only other sport that really hasn't tried it out is baseball. That's because they do American League versus National League for home field in the World Series.
Yeah.
We saw the NFL do this for a handful of years. The NHL is currently doing it. Well, I think they did it a few years ago because now they're doing all the divisions play against each other. So, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen that it doesn't exactly draw wild success because the NFL has gone back to AFC versus NFC. Like I said, hockey moved from, captains picking the team now to divisional 3-on-3 fast-paced games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the NBA wants to give it a shot. That's great. I think people will watch it the first time, especially if we see, LeBron get with Chris Paul, Melo, Paul George, something along those lines. Or if we, somehow get a moment where, LeBron has to pick Kyrie or something like that. I doubt he will, but, just weird stuff like that is going to be what's going to make people watch, not necessarily the fact that, it's just a bunch of stars on a team together because it's what it has been. And like you said, Trey, like we were texting about it earlier this week and you said it's still going to be, all those guys just not playing defense, dunking around, throwing alley-oops.
Yeah.
Like the game itself's not going to be any different because it's not East versus West.
Yeah.
The only thing it really eliminates is conference pride, if you even want to call it that, because the players aren't exactly out there trying to win the game until there's like 5 minutes to go in the last quarter.
Yeah.
If it's close.
Yeah, I'm kind of along those same lines. I think it's a novel idea. I think it fits best for the NBA just because it gives you that sense of a pickup game. You go to the local market and I got next, so you're picking the captains or whatever. So that's interesting to me. I feel like the NBA almost got it right as far as, like I said, it fits for them. I don't think it's going to change the style of basketball. I don't think it's going to make it like more of a defensive game or anything like that. But even though it's not East versus West, it's still 12 players from the East and 12 players from the West in the pool.
Yeah.
Or 10, 11 from each, I guess, what happens.
Yeah.
If you're going to go this way, just go the whole way and just say, we're going to get 24 best players or 24 all-stars. Who cares where you're from?
Yeah.
So sorry for me for the Eastern Conference if you don't have as many players or everything.
Yeah.
You're bad. Sorry. But I just think they should have went full ball with that. So you actually get, what everybody wants to see, and the snubs will be less egregious.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel though that like the NBA specifically kind of loses out the most when it comes to the All-Star break? Not necessarily because of the festivities or anything like that, because I mean I think we all can agree the dunk contest is a must tune in, and probably the 3-point contest as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a great All-Star weekend. Celebrities turn out big time for that one. They don't for the others. But like in terms of the All-Star game itself, are they in a no-win situation? Because at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of guys out there trying to not get hurt. Like it's always going to be, let's just throw alley-oops around off the backboard passes and, a final score of 201 to 200.
Yeah.
So do you kind of feel like it's kind of a no-win situation in that regard? Because a lot of people criticize it for being what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. Because, I mean, if you have these players going hard like it's a playoff game, that's when their respective coaches and ownership are going to be like, whoa, we're probably going to start having players sit out this kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
I'm not losing my player to a high ankle sprain or broken ankle or torn ACL or something because he was trying to cross up his form, like KD was trying to cross up Russ because they got into it in this pickup game. Basically, no, I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's no one in there, and then of course you have some of the fans where it's just like we're not even trying. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I guess you just have to see it for what it is. It's an exhibition game. Yeah. Other sports do their things. Like none of them are really worthwhile. Honestly, I mean, the NFL and they don't play. NFL is just, I mean, why have it? You don't blitz, and even if it's at the end of the year, they're still not trying to get hurt. It's just
a lot of people skipping out on that
sport.
too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then NHL, you got scores like 11-8, and it's like what NHL game does a score like that? It's just like what? And then I mean, baseball tried to put their wrinkle in it, but I don't think that. I'm not sure if the players actually like that. I mean, you're forcing them to have to play harder, but I mean, you have a team that will all of a sudden get home field advantage, but then when you get to the World Series, if Team A has won 20 more games through the year than the other team, it's like this is BS.
Yeah.
Why are we playing hard? So, I mean, I just think all of them are kind of a lose-lose situation where people just have to see them for what they are. They're exhibition games where you go see the stars. That's basically what you want to see. You're not going to see a real live, full throttle.
Yeah, you're going for the festivity. You're going for the festivity of the event, not the game.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that.
Well, for the captains, is it fan chosen or how does that work?
Yeah, it's the top 2 vote getters, and then they will pick.
All right. They had to vote for Zaza this year, man. So.
Yeah, it'd be his time.
Yeah, so it kind of sucks for me, man. Because from the standpoint of I like seeing the East versus West. Some of the guys, class going after it in their conferences, competing. But what it's turned into now, man, like you guys already said, don't really want to be a broken record, but guys not really going out there trying their hardest, jacking up shots, just dunking every time. It's it's kind of just like, okay, so it's not really that big of an issue if they're going to do captains or whatever, because just going to not really give it all their effort anyway. So it's, it sucks, but, at the same time, you're going to be getting what you're expecting. They're not going to be going out there competing that hard, anyway. So, but all right, just a question for you guys. Do you think there's a good possibility they could go back to the, East versus West? Do you think this could just be like a, trial for it, or, you think it'll be a while before we see the East versus West again?
I mean, if this was just a total failure and the ratings are terrible, I think they'd immediately go back to East versus West. But I mean, I think they'll have a spike just because of something different.
Okay.
So we'll get this for a couple of years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think there is almost a little more appeal to the way it's going to be this year. Only because, it's going to be a lot of, Well, I guess the idea is that the draft is going to be the most interesting part about it.
Yeah.
It's, I guess you could, in a sense, go ahead and say, well, who's LeBron going to take with that first pick?
Yeah. Who's
Or
KD or Steph, which
yeah,
those two.
Yep.
Will they pick the other of?
Will it be the Golden State Warriors against 5 guys that LeBron picks?
Yeah.
4 guys that LeBron picks. Like, does LeBron go out there and ruin that by going, all right, I'm picking KD or I'm picking Steph right away?
Yeah.
That's why I think it'll get interesting. I think a lot of people are finally, it's not an actual game situation like we've already stated, but, would it be weird going out there seeing KD get, guarded by Draymond Green for, a couple possessions? Yeah, it would. Would it be, fun to watch Klay Thompson try and stop Steph Curry from shooting a bunch of threes? Yeah, like, I'd be into that. So it's like, I think there's a little more appeal this way, but I think like all things, it kind of loses steam and you kind of go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the main point. I mean, I guess they'll probably throw this in as part of the Saturday festivities, or like early in that day, just to see the draft. But this is another half-hour TV show they can pump out to draw some more money. And I mean, just like you're saying, like whichever Warrior is the top vote getter, that's probably going to be a captain. They pick their own team. Do Katie and Russ end up on the same team? Do LeBron and Kyrie end up on the same team? Or opposite? Yeah. You got those kind of storylines going, so there's going to be some intrigue for year one with this for sure.
Yeah. Rather move right into the Detroit Pistons, but right before we say that, it'd be cool because they just built a stadium, new stadium in Detroit, so it'd be cool if the NBA could somehow, get a all-star game in that new arena to check out. That'll be fun. So,
well, I think that's a big reason they built the new stadium. Is hopefully they can swing, an NHL, NBA all-star.
Yeah. So
that's when they're building up the city. They want to get back and try to bid for another Super Bowl, and they want Little Caesars already.
Yeah.
Just try to grab some. They want to get back to being or something like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So those will be some fun events to go check out, man. If they could definitely get that to happen. So just have to see down the road, but had to mention that. But yeah, the Detroit Pistons guys. What are your guys' expectations for them this year?
In my opinion, I don't think expectations should be any different. They should make the playoffs. They should have made it last year. They just seem to find ways to fall short of expectations. Losing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope wasn't exactly ideal. Losing Marcus Morris isn't ideal either. But the one, thing I'm concerned over, the last couple of seasons is you have, Marcus Morris, you have, Tobias Harris, and, basically John Lure all play their own style of game, but they all kind of play the same position.
Yeah.
It's like they stocked up on those, 3/4s, and it just kind of became a big traffic jam. And, granted, it doesn't help that, Reggie Jackson has a killer season and then answers it with injury and, just let down. Doesn't help that, Andre Drummond isn't a dominant force. It's just kind of a whole storm of things that lead to the disappointment of the Detroit Pistons. You could argue, free agency was tough for them this summer. I wasn't exactly a huge fan of some of the way that the offseason played out. Like getting Avery Bradley, I absolutely like it. I think he's a very good replacement for losing KCP. And KCP got a max deal. Granted, we had to trade for Avery Bradley, but I still think that's a very solid move by the Pistons. I think you can, get the opportunity to re-sign Avery Bradley at the end of this year, I believe, and get him for less money than a max deal. So you kind of are just swapping out a player who plays very similarly, good defense. I actually think Bradley's a better defender, and can hit the outside shot. Drafting Luke Kennard in summer ball looked really promising. It'll be interesting to see how they play him minutes wise. Will he be able to provide the outside shot coming off the bench? Will he be able to get to the rim like he was getting in summer ball? That'll be just stuff where time will tell. But the free agent signing of Langston Galloway is really interesting because a lot of people are very high on him, but I feel like if he's going to do anything, he's just going to be a value sign where, he gives you that mid-level production and you got him for, I don't want to say a bargain, but I mean, you didn't have to pay a lot for it. And I also kind of wonder if the Pistons really settled on Langston Galloway because I feel like with the roster they have, they could bring somebody in. It's just the fact that they can't pull the trigger on a bigger name free agent or, whatever. But coming up this year, I think expectation has to be the playoffs. Eastern Conference is doing nothing but getting worse with players going into the West. And it should just open the door. Since they have talent to be, easily in the playoffs. They just find ways to not make it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just going to repeat basically everything Ty said here, but
said it perfectly, honest.
Yeah, this is a team that in this Eastern Conference should be able to at least get a 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah,
but they have not been able to prove themselves.
Yeah.
They've not been able to put together a season to do that. Last year was a major disappointment. And, they've made some roster changes, some moves, some good moves. Some I'm still not totally sure about draft pick.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm willing to watch and see. But like I said, just the East is, outside of probably the top 4 teams, just take a pick on who can make it.
Yeah.
So they should be able to slot themselves in at least that lower tier of the Eastern Conference playoffs. But, if they don't, then some moves need to be made as far as, coach/GM, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I mean, I think at the time the hire of Stan Van Gundy was very appealing. Seeing what he did with basically a bunch of role players down in Orlando is not something you can bat an eye at. And it felt like a very similar situation here in Detroit. It's just the fact that, through injuries or, whatever, they've fallen short of, in my opinion, even realistic expectations. They've just fallen short.
Yeah. Since you guys brought it up, we'll get right into it. But Stan Van Gundy, is he in the hot seat this year?
Tough to say. I think he'll be pretty safe this year, but I think if we have another disappointing year next year is put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to split maybe on this one. He's not in the hot seat, but he's losing one of those 2 jobs if they do terrible this year.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah, that's respectable, man. That's a good point. Cause
do you think he'd be more likely to lose head coach or GM?
GM. I think he's a coach, but it's looking possibly like even he may know what kind of players he likes to coach, but he may be looking at that over, or is this a talent that fits the scheme or whatever. So he may need an outside eye that,
Mm-hmm.
will look at the betterment of the team versus his comfort on the sideline.
Now just to get to some more talk about the East. Are there any pickups for the East that you guys like this year? For players going to a new team in the East or what?
I mean, I think the most notable one's Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else has left town.
What about?
I mean, I guess I can.
Yeah, I was about to say, man. What about
guess,
Dwight Howard? Have we all lost faith in him yet?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's maybe Jordan can teach him some things or something, but
yeah, I honestly think outside of Gordon Hayward, it's going to be what draft pick pans out. And I guess we can say this because he'll be in for Rookie of the Year, but does Ben Simmons work out?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he hasn't played a game yet, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, are we all going to agree that he's going to be deemed a newcomer to the East here?
Well, yeah.
Is that fair? Yeah. All right. So yeah. So I mean, I think he's got to be one you look at, and other than, I guess, really him and Gordon Hayward, it's just going to be who those high draft picks that pick somebody that's going to really be a star, because nobody went out and got anybody huge.
Yeah. Well, how about this kind of happened towards the end, but with the whole Avery Bradley pickup for the Pistons, how do you think he'll fare?
Yeah, I think he'll fare pretty well there. They need they need a platoon of guys that can hit the outside shot. Avery Bradley can hit. He doesn't shoot it at an incredible clip or anything, but he hits enough outside shots that teams actually guard him on the perimeter. And I just think his lockdown defense is going to be the difference maker. A lot of people regard him as a top, 10 to 12 defender in the NBA. Basically 3, maybe 4 positions if the team goes with a small 4.
Yeah.
But I mean, he can easily guard, small forwards, guards. He'll come, he'll come in to a good spot when we see teams like Cleveland, Boston, teams with just better guards, Miami with Goran Dragic, just teams with better guard play. He's really going to help.
Yeah.
I guess another newcomer name we could be looking at is Malik Monk, being a draft pick for Charlotte. So, just teams with better guards, he's going to play, better impact, unless, I've been more focused on his on-ball defense, but if his off-ball defense turns really good and he could create a lot of steals, then yeah, he'll be very solid with this team.
And he just seems like he's like a SVG type of guy.
Yeah, basketball IQ, high IQ, team player. Yeah, he fits the SVG mold very well.
All right. Well, anything else to add to that, Darnell?
No.
Pretty much just nailed it. All
right. Our resident Pistons insider here got it.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's what I am.
Yeah. All right. Now just to talk about the playoffs. Who are the teams you guys are expecting to make the playoffs from the East? Safe to say, I think we all got Boston, Washington, Cleveland, and Toronto.
Maybe.
Maybe?
No.
Yeah, that's what I say. But, with these change-ups, you had Paul George leaving Indy. The Pistons, like we just said, they're one of those teams that should make it, but for some particular reason, they just have been failing to do that, season to season so far. Who are the teams that you guys think can fill up the rest?
I think a team Darnell was very high last year. How about Milwaukee?
Yeah. But how far is how long do you guys know how long it'll take Parker to get back? Because
I don't.
Okay, because that's the thing, man.
Yeah, Jabari Parker's a big piece for them.
Yeah. But Middleton, he came back late last year. You know, he's a beast.
Yep.
So I think
Very
he's a
late.
very underrated player in the league. Yeah. So
I believe he was also drafted a Piston.
Really?
I think he was. Let me look that up. Yep, 2012 Detroit Pistons. That's one they missed out on pretty big.
They missed out on
second round. Yeah, you're right. That's where they've been terrible. But I think Darnell will agree there. Milwaukee has a great shot. Well, I mean, I think we could look at it this way. Yeah. But here's what I'm going to say. The teams that made it last year were Boston, Cleveland, Toronto, Washington, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Indiana, Chicago. I say Indiana and Chicago are for sure out. Yeah. Atlanta could still possibly get in. Yeah. They may be a 7 or an 8. Now they're definitely not going to be a 5 seed.
I was about to ask you guys, what about Philly?
I think they have a shot.
Yeah. But say if he can stay healthy.
That's the year they're expecting to run the two of these getting in that lower tier.
Yeah. Say that again.
I think this is a year that most people are going to expect them to make that leap into at least that lower tier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think Atlanta's kind of your iffy. They could get back in, but I think everybody will agree. Indiana losing Paul George, they're out. Chicago losing Jimmy Butler, they're out.
Yeah.
So it just really is who are the 2, possibly 3 teams that you think could replace them. I think Philly's a very serious contender.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be a huge joke. I don't think I just don't think they're going to be a joke anymore. I think the Pistons have to be right there. Someone I think, yep, Milwaukee. I think they'll slide up into that 4 or 5 range.
I got them at 4.
Yeah.
You got them at 4?
So I mean, okay. I think another. I honestly.
Okay,
think,
so hold on. So you would have so Boston, Cleveland, not in this particular order, but you would have them over the Raptors or Washington?
I have Washington 3.
Okay, Washington, and you have them. Okay. That's cool.
I think another team that could possibly get in would be, I think the Hornets could get in. They always seem to be floating around that 6 to 9 range for the most of the season in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. And, get a couple bounces that go the other way. They're an 8 seed. So I think you can look at the Hornets, you can look at the Heat. They should have Justice Winslow back. He got hurt and was out for a while. Hassan Whiteside spent some time hurt last year. If they could stay healthy,
the Heat,
they could very easily get in.
The Raiders came on strong at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So just going to be interesting to see how these teams can click. So it's definitely, those last 3 spots are, I'd say, definitely open to some squads. So. All right. Well, anything else for this one, guys?
I mean, it's fun trying to figure out who those other 4 teams that will make it in the East, but honestly, I think outside of after Boston, Cleveland, Washington, and Milwaukee, none of them have a chance of doing anything but making the playoffs. That's the East right now.
Yeah, I'll even go further to say this. I completely agree. I'm just going to tweak what you said a little bit, just from my opinion. I think Washington has a shot against Boston. Washington does not have a shot against Cleveland. Boston has the best shot at Cleveland.
I could agree with that.
So if it somehow ends up being Washington, Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think you have a pretty good toss up there. If you have Washington, Cleveland, it's Cleveland. If you have Cleveland, Boston, I think we can get a good series there.
Yeah, I can agree, man. I'm a huge fan of John Wall, but him and Bradley, they were clicking last year. But when it came back to playoff time, it just seemed like the same old song and dance. They were just having troubles clicking. So, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Wall, but if this could keep up between those two, just not seeming to just collaborate with each other well, especially come playoff time. Could be somebody getting ready to get the boot. So, I like Washington, I like Wall, but it's we're just seeing the same old thing over and over again in terms of them how they're playing with each other. Enough's got to be enough at some point. So
definitely.
Yeah. Now, how you for the Eastern Conference? Is it safe to say you guys believe it'll be Boston and Cleveland?
I think that's what a lot of people are hoping.
I think that's the most likely outcome. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It would. I think all three of us would even agree if the team gets in that isn't Cleveland or Boston, it's Washington, and they'll need one heck of a 7-game series.
Well, I mean, like you said, I'm high on them, and I think it does depend on how healthy of a Parker we get at the late part of the season. But I'm infatuated with how big Milwaukee is and their defensive prowess. I do think they could turn out to be like a Pistons type squad where they can just lock teams up just as they're above average in height and length at every position. And Giannis he's projecting high, like he's probably going to be on some MVP ballot this year.
That's just think about that now. Those two, all those guys clicking, Middleton, Parker, and Antetokounmpo.
It's a scary thought, isn't it?
That's nasty, man.
and they're all super young. Like
I know.
That is
all
ridiculous.
Mid to lower 20s doing that.
Yeah. So that's going to be a sight, man. Those guys are going to be causing some teams hell once everybody's healthy and all that. So they're going to be fun to watch. I can say that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, anything else to add before the Eastern Conference or the NBA before we move on? You good, Darnell?
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we're about to get into some NCAA football. First thing we're about to start off for this good week is about to talk about last week, UFC versus Washington State matchup. What did you guys think about that game?
Oh, I mean, it was some back and forth action, but Sam Darnold is struggling. I guess that's the biggest thing I got out of it. Since there's been a lot of hype on the kid, and I know he's probably still projecting fine as far as NFL stock, but 15 for 29. No touchdowns and an interception. That's and he only threw 464 yards. That's just you can't have that out of your quarterback for college doing that. And then you have Falk on the other side, just playing a pretty solid game. 34-51. He's completing 67% of his attempts. He throws for 34, being 2 touches. Can't get outplayed like that by Washington State.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on Sam Darnold. Because I remember texting you guys and saying, Sam Darnold does not look like a number 1 projected pick. He's not even looking like a Heisman contender right now. So yes, he needs to play a lot better. The offense will go as he goes, but granted, on the road at Washington State, that's not an easy trip. That's I'm gonna call it a trap game because Washington State was ranked 16th.
Yeah, they're a good team.
So it's not like you're completely overlooking them.
Yeah.
Granted, I picked USC to win. I just thought USC would have a few too many athletes, but Washington State's both offensive and defensive line were getting big push despite being smaller than USC's O&D line. It was just one team wanting it more than the other, and Washington State definitely deserved to win. Close game, but they definitely deserved it.
Anything else to add to that, Darnell?
Just like we said, if you got somebody that comes in being a Heisman candidate, you can't have a clunker like that. I mean, if he would have played a reasonable game, they probably didn't win it. I mean, it was a close game, even if Darnold playing that bad. It's only a 3-point game. So, if your quarterback plays anywhere near to an average game, they probably would have won double digits.
Mm-hmm.
Credit to Washington State for doing what they did to Radlin, not just throw it all on. He had a bad game. Washington State came in and did what they needed to do. They were at home. They used that home field advantage. They came out with a W. So credit to them. But, I expected a lot more out of Vernon.
All right, up next, about to talk about Alabama for a little bit. Just what do you guys think about this team? Do you guys think that they're clearly the number one team right now? Just my opinion, how these guys are just looking. They're just clicking and just dominating everybody who they play. I do know that this is still a pretty young season. They still got a lot on their schedule to prove. But just how these guys are looking, this team, honestly, in my opinion, they're just looking like this could be potentially be the greatest Alabama team Nick Saban's just coached, because these guys are just firing on all cylinders, playing pretty good defense. Still a little bit I like to see out of QB, so I see him step up a little bit, but these guys are just dominating their opponents left and right now. But yeah, just what are your thoughts on this Alabama team?
They look very good. And I think they're going to roll their way right into the playoffs. But as far as your original question, are they the clear-cut number one? I cannot say that.
Okay.
Not because of them, but because of how not good the rest of the SEC looks. The only other team I can say has consistently looked reasonably good is Georgia.
Yeah.
Outside of that, this bunch of I don't know if these teams are very good. So
yeah, man, I was having this discussion with Derek. He texted me this week, Darnell, but he told the same thing. He was like, man, like what's going on with the SEC? Like this is definitely not look like the SEC, the dominant conference that everybody was so used to seeing. It looks like they're definitely losing their luster. So it's just in that conference. You mentioned Georgia, but it really does look like Bama and everybody else. Because that just the conference, man. It's just like just going to dirt this year. So, but yeah, just to pick up on that. But yeah, you can go right ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you look around everywhere. There's some definite struggle bust in the SEC. I mean, A&M started rough. They look a little bit better now. After pretty much week 2, people were calling for Kevin Sumlin's job, and then you got Tennessee, who's a dumpster fire. You got LSU, who just lost to Troy.
Yeah.
It might be a short stay for them, of course. Auburn, I'm not sure about them. They look like they could be a reasonable team, but they're not elite by any means, in my opinion. Like I said, Georgia, I do think has looked pretty good. They have some athletes. But, your Arkansas aren't very good. Vandy look like they might be decent, but I mean, I don't know how much of this was the talent gap or how much was Alabama just pissed off because they called them out like, like Vanderbilt. They were thinking they were Clemson or somebody like that. But just the SEC is not looking like the power that they have been. That gap is looking real thin right now. If somebody still wants to say they're the best conference in America, so because of that, no, I cannot say Alabama is a clear-cut number one, especially with how good the team that beat them at the end of the year last year is looking. Yep, Clemson. They've gone through some very good teams. They went through Louisville. They went through a good Virginia Tech team last week, and I feel like their strength of schedule has been a little bit more impressive than Alabama's.
Okay.
Yeah. As Darnell said about me earlier, I'm not going to take the time to just reiterate what he said, but I have to hit on the fact that Clemson beat Alabama for the national championship last year, and I would say you could make the argument for Clemson being ranked number one. I think there's a very strong argument just based off of who they've beaten,
Didn't one of the polls have them number one?
They got some votes.
Okay, they got some votes.
I don't think they had them number one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, coaches, AP poll, they're both number two.
Okay.
But they have received votes. But, just based off of who they played, now granted, Alabama totally passes the eye test. They look good offensively, they look good defensively, they look good on special teams. Like, eye test, yes, they are a number one team. But I think a lot of people are making a strong case for Clemson. I would be totally cool if for some reason there was a 1A and a 1B ranking. Okay. I feel like both of these teams are head and shoulders. I think Clemson and Alabama are both a step ahead. Now I'm not saying, no one can beat them. I just think that right now are two teams looking to play for the national championship again, and everybody else is just playing.
Looks like we got a collision course for round 3.
Yeah.
And it would be good too, because it would be the rubber match.
Yeah, for sure. But, like I said, you guys pretty much made some strong cases, for Clemson, Bama. Definitely, got to put an asterisk by the SEC. You mentioned it, somebody wants to argue that they're the best conference, Darnell. It'll be a little tough for them to say it, but do you still feel as if the SEC is the best conference, or do you think that's been pushed over so far, looking at it?
I mean, as far as this season goes, no, they're not. I'll just say it. No, they're not. I don't know if I can say a clear-cut conference, but I just feel like they're with everybody else at worst now. At best, they're with everybody else at worst. They're might be a step below, honestly. I only feel like I could put the top team in the East and the top team in the West up against most teams and say, all right, they're going to or knock somebody out. I mean, if I had to lean to a conference, I'm probably leaning towards the ACC or.
What? Do you want me to jump in on that?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Ty. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right, just tell me when.
Well, good. You can start now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I agree with the Big 12. I agree with the ACC. I think you're looking at even a Louisville team that you would still throw out there against a lot of other teams across the country for sure. Florida State losing Francois just proved to be a little too much for them, which is very unfortunate because we all had high hopes for them. We all thought they had the capability of running the table the rest of the way after Alabama. But, yeah, I mean, I think just because of how good Clemson looks, I think you're going to put the ACC up there. But I still think the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has a lot of depth. Just top to bottom. I mean, granted, you got to look past, Rutgers, but, I believe Minnesota's 3-2. I think Maryland's 4-1. Just some teams are stepping up in the Big Ten to really round out the conference. And, Michigan State's having a good season record-wise right now. Michigan is undefeated. Ohio State's undefeated. Wisconsin's undefeated. Penn State's undefeated. I just don't think you can look past the Big Ten right now. I think they're really hitting their stride nationally. And I think a lot of people are starting to recognize it. It was big that, Maryland got a big national TV win against Texas. Yeah. I think that the Big Ten's putting a lot of people on notice. I won't be shocked if the Big Ten, is a conference that gets the first or second most, because the second most number of teams in the bowl game. You kind of look at the SEC there because they're the biggest conference. But I bet if you dropped it down to percentages, the Big Ten will be one of the top 3 conferences in getting teams in bowl games this year.
Well, all right, guys. Anything else to add to that?
Nope.
All right. Before we get into the big rivalry game, we're going to let Darnell talk about his squad's performance last week against Iowa. Your squad, Michigan, had the bye week tie. So what did you think about your squad last week, Darnell?
That was a good bounce back game. They looked like they got over the hangover of whatever happened at Notre Dame. They seemed to have cleaned up some things. There was no turnovers, which was big. They caused turnovers, which was big. And they got back to doing what they had been doing up until that Notre Dame. They stopped the run. They played reasonably good pass defense back in the secondary. The pass offense moved the ball well, but there's still that issue of moving the ball on the ground. Still some struggle with the running game, but they looked like they were over what happened. So that's a good sign for such a young team that they were able to not let such a rough game sit on them like that. And they showed no signs of stress from that Notre Dame game, and no layoff of looking forward to playing Michigan this week. They were focused on the task at hand, and not saying they played amazing, but they played a good football game. They pretty much locked Iowa down and did what they needed to do.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked by that, man. Iowa coming off a very close game with Penn State. A lot of people could have argued they could have pulled it through and won. But yeah, Michigan State, like you said, man, when they have such a young talented team, I just wanted to see how they were going to bounce back after that loss they had against Notre Dame, man, and they responded well. So this will be definitely to see how they can move forward after that win coming into the Michigan game. All right, since I think you covered it enough, man, it's time for us to get right into it. It's the matchup of the year so far for you guys. We got Michigan versus Michigan State, the rivalry. Just thoughts about this matchup, guys.
It's always tough to tell football. Honestly, I don't think there is a lot that needs to be said about this game. I think Darnell would agree. The better team does not always win it. It tends to be if you run the ball effectively. you take care of the ball. It's very cliche, but that tends to be the winner of these games. The team that rushes better and the team that protects the ball. I think both teams are going to show a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but I think both teams are going to show some inexperience this weekend. Michigan and Michigan State are both young in a lot of spots. So for a lot of these guys, it's going to be their first significant taste of this rivalry game. And I think at some points of this game, we're going to see emotion play a big part. Whether it's, someone trying to do too much and a turnover happens, or someone just loses an assignment because he, goes and blocks somebody else because it's a big hit. I just feel like we're going to see a couple moments where inexperience and emotion play a big part. Whether it's a bad flag or something. I just think that's something to look out for. Because I don't think there's really anything else that needs to be said about this game other than the fact these two teams hate each other. Both teams are playing for conference relevancy, national relevancy. And that's what it is. That's how it always is with these two teams. So.
Yeah, to use one of the old cliches, these are two teams that don't like each other. So,
and that's putting it nicely.
Yeah. As Ty said, it's not usually it's not a talent deal when it comes to this game. This game, Michigan State was a 3-win football team. They still, played Michigan pretty tight. The score seems to get a lot tighter when you just have two programs that, they're putting their pride on the line in a game like this. So I expect nothing less than that come Saturday night. Both teams are going to come jacked up. They've been preparing for this game all week. I think both teams are focused on. Nobody's trying to give the other bulletin board material. Both coaches are trying to be nice about it. They let it be known that they don't like each other, and I think that's just expected from both teams. So it's going to be big there. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to everybody arguing about one mistake that led to one way or the other team winning this. It's a big game for both sides. Michigan looks like they made the switch to O'Korn, so they want to get him off on the right foot, and this could be a statement game for Michigan State after coming back from a terrible season last year. If they could beat their rival, who's still ranked in the top 10, that would be huge for them, because that would probably mean Monday we're back in the top 25. So, again.
Yeah, just real fast, you are right about O'Korn. Spate looks to be out handful of weeks, so it's going to be O'Korn for the next little bit.
Just about to ask you, Ty, since you guys are ranked number 7, been a little bit nervous for Michigan, man. You guys looked kind of iffy this year. Are you nervous for this matchup? Or
I think in any rivalry game you have to bring in the option of losing the game. Yeah. It's not impossible, but the confidence I think that Michigan fans have going forward is Michigan looked at their best offensively once John O'Korn entered the game against Purdue. They moved the ball very well. He was passing it well, scrambling well. They just looked like they were clicking at a speed that they were not clicking on with Spate at quarterback. So, I mean, do you get a little nervous? Yeah, because he's had limited reps.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked if he's been taking some first team reps all along, knowing you're one moment away from being starter here. And, you can say the same for probably every team in America. Backup quarterback has to get some first team snaps at some point. So But just in terms of the game itself, yeah, you have to be nervous. Rivalry game, anything happens. But I think, the positive for both teams would be just because you lose this game, your season's not over. Both teams are currently 1-0 in the Big Ten. Both teams still have to play Ohio State. Both teams still have to play Penn State. And if you can somehow knock out both of those teams, get a loss to Michigan or Michigan State from somebody else going forward, you can still end up in the Big Ten championship game this year. Like, it's not over. These two teams are playing a little early this year. Usually they play, first weekend in November or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, our last weekend of October. So they're playing a little early this year. So, there's always nerves. I will admit that. But the season's not over just because you lose this one. Like I said, for Michigan, they still got to go to Happy Valley and they host Ohio State. So even if you lose, you still have the opportunity to control your destiny. You just have to make sure you take care of business the rest of the way.
All right, guys. Now, pretty much, gave your thoughts on it. But what are the keys for both of your squads to pull this game off with a W? Is there anything particularly with you, Ty, that you'd like to see out of Corn in this matchup?
Yeah, for starters, no turnovers would be great. If he does not, if he does not throw an interception, I think that's A++ for John O'Corn. I'm not expecting him to go out and throw for 300 yards. I'm not expecting him to go and rush for 100. I just want a clean game out of O'Corn. I want a clean game from the offense. I think the defense will take care of itself.
Okay. All right, Neves. What's your squad got to do, man, to pull off this upset?
There's a few things. Stop the run. I mean, that's always a big thing. They played very well against run. I think that's one of the major reasons why we looked as good as we did against Iowa. A good running team, we pretty much shut them down. If we can do that against Michigan, you always fare better. Negative mention, especially with Oklahoma. Pretty much, this is it started since coming to Michigan. So,
it is. It's only a second start.
Yeah. So put him in the fire there, force him to throw the ball and make those decisions, make those reads. Force that, and as Ty was saying, protect the ball. Don't give up the ball, especially not in plus territory for the other team. And if we can find some way to get an effective run game ourselves, because majority of these games, if you outgain that team wins. That's pretty much how it goes with Michigan versus Michigan State. The winner in the rushing battle wins the game.
Yeah.
So if we can find a way to get LJ Scott, Gerald Holmes, Madre London off. Of course, you probably will have some worky runs in there too. He's been using his legs a lot. That thing right there.
Right. Yeah, and to be fair, I think we can both agree this is some of the deeper running back squads we've seen out of both teams in this matchup. At least, my time being a Michigan fan, I don't think I've seen as deep of a running back core for them as this team has. And I think even the same for Michigan State, even though Michigan State hasn't exactly run the ball super effectively yet this season. I think this is, three of some of the best backs we've seen come to Michigan State. And granted, they've had some of the past, but I think, the running backs for each team are very deep.
Yeah. As far as just overall talent.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Anything else to add to this matchup, or talk about, or say to each other before?
Yeah. No, I will keep it civil. Darnell and I. Hey. it's respect. It's always civil. Throw your jabs, but it's civil. But Darnell, what do you think of the night game for the first time?
Yeah, 7:30. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yep. What do you think?
I mean, it'll be fun, interesting to watch. I think the arrest totals are going to go up.
Oh yeah.
Giving fans that much more time to get lathered up for this one and start throwing shots at each other.
Yeah, Ann Arbor will be a mess. I agree.
Yes.
But do you think Michigan State answers with the night game next year?
I think it's a possibility.
I think it's very strong.
I'm not totally sure because I guess the staff for both schools, they aren't terribly excited about it because because it's a rivalry game. They're worried about
you guys are waiting all day. Yeah,
how to order people are going to get, but it is what it is, and I think if the ratings pop enough, then you're probably going to get this as a night game.
Yeah, because I saw it scheduled as a night game, and you know how it is, night game, prime time. That just adds a little excitement to the aura of the game. It just does, no matter what the game is. But I think with this game typically being the 3:30 start, I think the night game just adds a different element to it. I think, like you said, it'll be a mess in Ann Arbor. If they do the same in East Lansing next year, it'd be a mess there too. But I like the idea of it being a night game, prime time. Everyone, I do think you'll see a slight peak in the ratings, mainly because I haven't really looked. I don't know what other games they're competing with at the 7:30, 8 o'clock slots. And you won't see a game on over it for regional coverage. So I think we see a slight tick in the ratings. I think people would be likely to turn it on just because it's a bigger time rivalry game. And I actually think it'll be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Just looking at it, you guys should have, there's not really any, big time games competing, with you guys this week for the, prime time spot. So you got maybe Washington State and Oregon, but.
I think
you guys should,
watch Michigan State over that.
Y'all should get
unless you have
good numbers for that, so.
Yeah, unless you have an interest in any other team, I think a lot of people tune that one.
Yeah, so y'all should have it. All eyes will be on you guys. Have y'all ever been to a live for one of their rivalry games before?
I have not.
Okay. What about you, Darnell?
Nah, I've never bought season football tickets. I just went to games if it seemed like it might be good, because when I was there, we were horrible.
Yeah,
so
true. Yeah, but man, I've been. It would have been fun, to be live, especially at this, and this would have been a fun one. So.
Yeah, I wish I would have went my freshman year because I was Clockgate, and so
okay.
Would have been amazing.
Yeah. But all right, guys. Anything else to add for NCAA football before we get into our pickers?
Nope.
Okay. About to start this off with some NCAA. Still the top dog, 19 out of 30. Tyler's in second place with 17 out of 30, and Darnell's 16 out of 30.
I had to make my picks out of duress last week.
Yeah. All right. First matchup that we're about to go for is Air Force versus Navy. Who do you guys have?
Oh, I gotta pull up my sheet again.
Give me the Eagles. Air Force.
All right.
Air Force. Yeah, I'm going Navy.
Give me Navy as well. Okay. Up next, we have Duke versus Virginia.
Give me Duke.
Duke?
Yeah, I'm going with Duke here too.
Me too, man. I'm rocking with Duke. Then up next, we have Louisville versus NC State. Give me NC State.
Yeah, I'll take Lamar Jackson here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Louisville. Bounce back.
Yep.
All right. Up next, we have the U versus FSU. Y'all already know who I'm rolling with. So.
Oh, well, Florida State's 1 and 2. Give me Miami.
I think you know who we're all rolling with on this one. One team doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Miami.
All right. And last but not least, we got to go for it. University of Michigan versus Michigan State. Going to be at Ann Arbor.
Not even going to say what.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Michigan, man. It's tough because this game, in my opinion, is going to be very close. I'm nervous for Michigan. They just look inconsistent. If just look at how inconsistent Michigan has been, State could get a good little lead on them before they start to pull a second half comeback or whatever like they did against Purdue. So this game is going to be very close. I think it's going to be by three decided. It's going to be a field goal or a touchdown. But this is going to be a close game, man. So I believe so. Both of these guys are going to go out there swinging. I'm going to pick Michigan. So.
Well, I'm not picking my school here, so.
Yeah, you don't even have to say it. Yeah. Don't even have to say it.
All right. Okay. Now we're about to get into the NFL. I'm straight up sucking in this. I'm 11 for 23. Tyler's 13 for 23, and Darnell is number 1 with 15 for 23. First thing we're about to get right into is Buffalo versus Cincy.
I'm going to take Buffalo, playing good defense.
Going with the same. Give me Tyrod Taylor and company.
Me too. I'm going in with me 3. Next
the Juice is out of jail. Maybe they'll give him a call. Play some running back. Company.
Man.
The Juice is loose.
Yeah, the Juice is loose. That's correct, man. Up next, we got Seattle versus the Rams.
I actually think this is the hardest one to pick out of all of them for me.
Yeah.
Seattle just hasn't looked like Seattle, and the Rams are.
It looks like the numbers should be.
They're winning some shootouts.
Yeah,
some shootouts though. The Rams kicker made 7 field goals last week. Unbelievable.
Legatron.
Yeah, Legatron. Although I heard that and took a little offense to the nickname, but obvious reason. But give me the Rams.
The Rams, okay.
Always find a way to beat them once.
Yeah, this one gave me trouble too. I mean, Rams' offense has been amazing, but the defense they should have has not been that way. Seattle's defense looked a little better to me last week, like they're starting to, get back to some of their roots. I still hate their offensive line, but I'm just gonna roll with Seattle here.
Yeah, me too, man. They got to turn it around, so this will be a big game for them to get back on course. So yeah, I'm not going to Seattle as well. It seems like I'm picking Dallas every week. It seems like, man. Green
Can't stop doing it.
Yeah, it seemed like it, man. I'm picking your squad every week. It seems like, man. But up next we got Green Bay.
So that's why we lost at the end last week because you picked. Okay.
Oh man,
Curse of Trayon.
Well, I won't pick them this week, man. I'm going with Green Bay. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with Green Bay as well.
All right.
I probably should, but I'm gonna pick Dallas.
Yeah,
all right. Then up next we have San Fran versus Indy.
This one's also kind of tough, but Indy just hasn't shown me enough, even in a loss. Give me San Francisco.
I got them as well.
Although he did look a little bit better in the first half last week.
Yeah. Brissett looked good in the first half, but then he somehow fell off a cliff after that. Yeah. I don't like this.
Like a flip a coin or something, though?
But you got a Spartan quarterback in San Fran, so that's what I'm taking.
All right.
Mr. Hoyer.
San Francisco Hoyers.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, we got to cover those Detroit Lions. They're going to be playing against the Carolina Panthers. Who do you guys got? I think the Lions can pull this one off. So,
the Lions.
Yeah.
This one I was teetering on too because Cam actually looked like Cam last week.
Yeah.
But it was against the Patriots who, it seemed like their defense is who you need to play if you want to look good for a week. So I don't trust it. So I'm going with the Lions.
Is this the first time we've all picked the Lions?
Could be, but since Trey picked them, they're probably going to lose.
You picked them last week. Did you pick the Vikings last week, Trey?
No, I picked the Lions. Yeah, I picked the Lions. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it only works with my team. Sweet.
So
it's real. Lions are the real deal.
Yeah.
Get through the Trayon curse.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else to add before we close this off?
No, sir.
All right. As always, guys, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to the show. You can check this podcast out on podcast.com, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Set us up in that search engine. Also, feel free to check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.